man, I don't know where this trade deadline ranks all time, but it's for sure one of the craziest trade deadlines I can remember. The Warriors finally took the L on the Wiseman experiment, shipping him off to Detroit in a 14 trade that got them GP2 back from Portland. They also had to cough up 5 second-round picks as well. Alright, before we get to the drama, my initial thought on the trade before the GP2 injury news broke is that they're more equipped to defend their title going into the playoffs with GP2 than they were with Wiseman. Swapping GP2 for Wiseman is essentially the Warriors admitting to their mistake, keeping Wiseman and letting GP2 walk in free agency. From a big picture asset management standpoint, this is an L. It's a tough pill to swallow trading a second overall pick 3 years ago for a 30-year-old vet that's injury prone, especially when they could have kept both but chose not to. Regardless of the optics of how they got to this point with Wiseman, you have to at least give them credit for not being too prideful and doubling down on their mistake by keeping Wiseman when it's clear he's nowhere near ready to contribute to winning basketball. With this trade, they turned a player who wasn't going to help them this season into a proven playoff contributor. We saw it last year in the playoffs when GP2 came back from a fractured elbow and gave Brown and Tatum hell in the finals. Another reason they targeted GP2 is that he obviously already knows the system, so there shouldn't be much of an adjustment period. He's played with most of the guys on the team except for Dante, JaMychal, the two-way guys, and the rooks. So that familiarity is already there, and it looks like that's going to come in handy for this team because it was reported that GP2 is going to miss most of the regular season, giving him very little time before playoffs to get acclimated. GP2's failed physical had the 14th trade in jeopardy of getting rescinded. Apparently, the core injury he had surgery on in the offseason never fully healed, and the Blazers were encouraging him to take Teradol shots to play through the injury. The initial report said he might be out up to 3 months. But after further testing, the Warriors released an official statement saying he'll be reevaluated in a month. They're hopeful he can be back a little before playoffs. Let's just say best case scenario, everything goes as planned, and after a 1-month evaluation period, he's back on the court a week later. That means he could be back for the last 3 weeks of the regular season. That should be enough time for GP2 to get reintegrated back into the rotation before playoffs, or at least I hope so. Look, I'm gonna be honest. The Warriors got straight up swindled by the Blazers, bro. Finessed. They had buyer's remorse on GP2 and saw an opportunity to come up on some assets while finessing the Warriors in the process. It's a sucker move by the Blazers, but you gotta look at it from their perspective. The Warriors are the big brother that's been beating up on the Blazers for years. They can't beat the Warriors on the court, so they was like, man, forget that. Our team is trash. We ain't doing nothing in the playoffs anyways. Let's just screw these dudes over at the deadline and get off of GP2's contract in the process. All those years of getting beat up on and sent home early in the playoffs had them dudes in Portland feeling spiteful. They withheld essential medical information on GP2, knowing once the trade deadline passed, the Warriors couldn't amend the trade, which basically means they couldn't go back and alter the deal by adding or subtracting picks. The Warriors had no choice but to either accept the trade or veto. At this point, the Warriors were basically backed into a corner. In my honest opinion, I don't think they're ever seriously considering vetoing that trade to bring Wiseman back. It's obvious Kerr had already decided he wasn't going to play him. Wiseman makes $9.6 mil this season and $12 mil next season. Gary Payton makes about $7 mil less total, which saves the Warriors about $30 mil in luxury taxes. I think even if they couldn't find a trade to get a piece back, they would have salary dumped Wiseman anyways. So at that point, you may as well go through with the trade. Shave down those luxury tax savings, which should make it easier to re-sign Draymond. And hopefully GP2 comes back before playoffs. But the Warriors gotta make it to the playoffs first. So you gotta hope the guys can hold it down until then, so this trade could pay dividends in the playoffs. Shout out to the finesse champ GP2. Got his bag from Portland and still ended up back on the Warriors. Now let's get to Wiseman. I'm not even going to do the thing where we look back and go through all the players they could have drafted. It's obvious who they missed on in the 2020 draft. Wiseman was never worthy of being a second overall pick, and that's okay. It's the Warriors' fault for reaching on the project big man who only played 3 college games. It is what it is, man. Even though it didn't work out here, I do want to wish the big fella the best of luck in Detroit. He was dealt a bad hand to start his NBA career, and this was probably the worst situation he could have gone to. He got drafted to a veteran team in the midst of a dynasty that runs a complicated offense that doesn't use their big men traditionally. All that on top of missing so much time from the knee injuries. Wiseman would have been better off if he was drafted literally by any other team in the league, where they run a simplified pick-and-roll offense. With that being said, we are in year 3. And regardless of circumstances that contributed to it, Wiseman basically looks like the same player he was as a rookie. There's nothing you can point to in Wiseman game that looks improved since he came into the league. Marginal improvements maybe, but not anything up to the standard of being a second overall pick. The Warriors didn't see anywhere near enough progression to warrant keeping him around, and his contract would have cost him about $131 million total, including luxury taxes. Wiseman just didn't show enough to prove he was worth that level of investment, especially if it comes with the cost of losing Draymond for financial reasons. It's very possible Wiseman looks way better in a Pistons jersey than he did in a Warriors jersey. In fact, I know he will. He was never going to be optimized to his fullest potential in a Warriors system built around Steph Curry. I will admit, the Warriors didn't utilize Wiseman to the best of his abilities. I feel like they made him put on too much weight. Not only did he lose some of his mobility as a big man, but he shouldn't have that extra weight on his knees. Defensively, they made him a drop big, and I think he looks better in a switching scheme. Offensively, he's shown he's capable of knocking down threes, and they cut the three-point shooting out of his game completely. Doing that takes away a lot of his value as an offensive big man. But anyways, man, I hope Wiseman can get his career off the ground in Detroit. He's a good kid, and he deserved a fresh start somewhere on a team with 0 expectations, allowing him to play through mistakes without the pressure of performing on a contender. Alright, so I do want to touch on the reported OG Anunoby pursuit by the Warriors. Yo, this dude Masai's a war criminal. He had the whole league in a bidding war for his players with no intentions of trading them. He was just gauging what the trade market was, possibly for future moves in the offseason. The reported asking price on Siakam and OG kept getting more and more outlandish to the point where I'm hearing reports of Masai demanding Kuminga plus 3 firsts plus more. I'm like, hold on, bro. Who does Masai think OG Anunoby is? He's a really good player for sure, and he would have made the Warriors title favorites again, but come on, bro. It's the reason every team backed out of the OG talks. So what's the state of the Warriors post-trade deadline? Even if GP2 misses most of the regular season, as long as he's back for the playoffs and he's close to himself, I think it's worth it. Wiseman wasn't going to help this year. We can all agree if the Warriors backed out of the trade, Wiseman wasn't stiff in the court of playoffs. That's just what it is. Now the question is, what version of GP2 are the Warriors getting back? The 2022 version that was strapping up Jaylen Brown in the finals? Or the Blazers version that was compromised? It's a good question to ask, but I'm assuming the Warriors feel confident enough in his abilities to contribute once he's back rehabbing with their own medical staff. The Warriors head into the All-Star break 29-29. By every metric, they've been an average team, right around 15th in offense and defense. Steph and GP2 are both on the shelf for at least another month, so the current state of the team isn't ideal right now. But at the end of the day, the Warriors added one of the best point of attack defenders in the league to a team that's been struggling defensively. Bringing GP2 back fortifies the guard and wing rotation. Even though GP2 is only 6'2", he plays much bigger than his height. His 6'8" wingspan, elite athleticism, and toughness allows him to guard up a position and defend wings pretty easily. Between Steph, Clay, Poole, DiVincenzo, and GP2, the Warriors probably have the best guard rotation in the league. It's the front court depth that's the biggest issue. Draymond and Looney are as good as always, but behind them, it gets sketchy. JaMychal Green shouldn't be your first big off the bench, and Anthony Lamb plays a little too much for my liking, which is why I wanted to see the Warriors make a corresponding move in addition to GP2 to get some front court help. If they would have did that, this trade deadline would have been more successful, but it looks like the Warriors are going to rely on the buyout market to address the need for front court reinforcements. It's a couple of vets I got my eye on that could possibly help the Warriors. Nerlens Noel, Kevin Love, Thaddeus Young, Dario Saric, and Rudy Gay are a few names I might consider as the Warriors. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. If you stuck around this long to the video, I appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I got more on the way, so stay tuned. Peace.